Look at all this pollen. It's just floating like everywhere. Alright, so today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Our car is actually at the mechanic right now, so I am unable to go ahead and show you guys France. So I thought I would do a Q&A. I asked if you guys had any questions for me here on YouTube as well as Instagram. So I'm going to be answering a couple questions, but not just do your standard Q&A with me sitting down at home. I thought I would just go about my day and answer questions throughout the day. So let's go continue this walk down by the river. Okay, so the first question is, as a foreigner, how have you integrated yourself in the French culture? Do you have any tips for making friends, forming connections in France? And this person actually says that they are actually making the move here with their French partner later this year. So congratulations. A way that I have integrated into the French culture was actually, if you are planning to stay here permanently, the government offers you classes with OFI, which is an Office of Immigration and Integration. They go ahead and they actually teach you the laws about France, like your rights, and as well as teach you about the culture and the history here. And they also offer you free French classes. So that's one way I have integrated myself in the French culture. As for making friends, I would highly recommend joining Facebook groups in your area and just reach out to fellow expats or immigrants that are here. That's how I have made my friends here. And then usually just making friends with their friends as well. It's kind of like just networking basically. That is a way, or joining like activities, like if you like, I don't know, running, join groups in your area, or yoga studio, whatever your hobby is. That's definitely a way of making friends here, and that's what has helped me out. And since I did just mention OFI, I'm actually starting my A2 classes for French, so that is how my French is coming along. I also took classes with Lingoda as well. I've mentioned that in previous videos, but Darius asked, when will you please make a video in French? The time has come. Don't be shy and you could do it. I appreciate your you having faith in me. I don't have that much faith yet in my French at all right now. I'm barely at like the A2 level, so I definitely need more practice and grammar. I really need to learn my grammar because I have a pretty good idea of like vocabulary, but grammar is still not good, so I'm still learning that. I don't know, maybe a year or two from now. I know that's quite a ways, but I don't have that much faith in myself yet. Well, that pupperoo just led me to my next question. I'd love to know which dog breeds people tend to care for as pets in France. Is it different from the US? Also, how is taking care of a pet in France different from caring for a pet in the US? A lot of people here actually have purebred dogs. You rarely will see mixed breeds. You do occasionally, but for the most part, they're all purebred dogs. And I have noticed a lot of the dogs here compared to the US, they actually don't really come up to you and get super excited to see people. They kind of just mind their business and keep walking by. And a lot of people actually have their dogs off leash here, which is something else that I noticed is different. Usually when you're out hiking, there's always signs that say like keep your dog on leash in the US. Here, I've never seen that sign ever before. And actually, I would have to say the dogs are way better behaved here in France than in the US. well, I can't really say the US because I only lived in Los Angeles, so I should say compared to Los Angeles, you rarely will see dogs like barking at each other, and people bring their dogs everywhere here in France, like on the terraces, and they just lay below the tables, into stores. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, how is it different? I would say the vet is way cheaper here in France than in the US. And one thing they don't have here in France, which I wish they did, is raw food. That's something that's pretty big in the US, and it's barely starting to come here. So that's something that's different, that a lot of dogs here are on just kibble, as well as a lot of pet boutiques. Maybe in Paris there's a lot, but here in Aix, you don't really see a lot of pet boutiques.
Ready to go?
Yep, let's go home. I'm hungry. Actually, let's go to the laundry and pick up a baguette. Look at all the honeysuckle. I haven't had these since I lived in San Diego as a kid. Woo! Haven't done one of these since a kid either. So we just went and got our baguette, but Paul couldn't get it on camera, me ordering, because it all happened too fast. But success. We get it not cooked all the way, which is pas trop cuit. I can't do the UI thing, it just doesn't work for me. But now we're gonna go home, shower, and I'm gonna make a vegan sandwich for lunch and show you guys the recipe. All right, so we are back. I'm showered, ready to make lunch. Today we are making a roasted tomato sandwich from This Savory Vegan. So I thought I would share a recipe with you guys, and I'm gonna get cooking. Whenever we're in the kitchen, Sophia always has to cry because she wants a treat. Okay. All right, so Linda actually asked, would you show us some of your vegan recipes in your kitchen? So that is what I'm doing right now. This is one of the recipes I make. I get a lot of my inspiration from Pinterest, or if I have any favorite recipes that I used to eat when I wasn't vegan, I just look up a vegan alternative, and Pinterest has so many different recipes. So I'll go ahead and leave my Pinterest board down below of my favorite vegan recipes. It's actually super easy once you have your staples that you go to. I also got this book, which I use a lot of her recipes. Definitely just check out maybe your local library or your local bookstore and go get a book about vegan recipes to make the switch. And if you reach out to me personally, I'd love to help out. Maybe I can make a little like Pinterest board or a go-to thing of how to become vegan, or doing like meatless Mondays. Anyways, I'm rambling, but yeah, that's something maybe I could do in a future video if you guys are interested in hearing about a vegan lifestyle. So the next question is favorite restaurants in Aix. I have a couple. They're mainly the vegan restaurants. La Cabane en Ville. There's Sanctuary Coffee and Kitchen. And then there's also Mana Espresso, which Paul and I love to go get our coffee there. And also our sushi spot, which is Sushi Couronne. My French accent is really bad. Those are definitely, our top places that we always go to. And also, there's always alternatives for cheese and butter. The recipes are getting better for cheese, but it won't taste exactly like cheese, but you get used to it after a while.
Now, for those of you who are not vegan, who are like me, let's just say I'm vegetarian. And there's this new restaurant that opened up in Aix called Le Petit Prince. And that just opened up maybe, I don't know, I want to say like half a year ago. And it's really cool, and they have like some sort of a tapas menu. It's kind of expensive, and the chef has been on Top Chef France. So you want to make a reservation because there's a lot of people trying to go there. But it's actually really good, so I recommend people to go and try it.
I don't think we're gonna eat this on camera because
that looks messy.
It looks very messy. So we'll answer a couple more questions. So I know this sounds very personal, but will you tell us about your plans to have a family? If that's too personal, never mind. I don't mind sharing. For me, it's not an issue. I know for other people it might be, but for us, we don't plan on having children. We're good to stick with our fur babies. Kids, I love kids. They are just, I don't see myself really ever becoming a mom, but
it's kind of funny, like all our friends are having babies right now. We're at that age where everyone is copulating. Every time we just hang out with them and it's very nice, but after a couple of hours we're like, okay, I want to go home and be quiet.
Being a parent, you have to be completely selfless, and I just don't think I'm there yet.
I want to be selfish.
I know that if we had kids, I know we would be great parents and we would do everything for them, but I just don't think I'm ready for that step.
Yeah.
And who knows, you really never know in the future, I don't know, but no, we're okay just being a married couple without kids and having our fur babies. Okay, so which place in France is top of your wish list of places you want to visit? We visited a lot of places. I want to explore all of France, but definitely for like the top, I would have to say I really want to go see Normandy.
Yeah, Brittany and Normandy, that region over there is the one place we have not been yet, and I think is really nice, and it's really a different region, nothing like we've seen before. So that would be the top place in France.
It's the same for you too?
In France, yeah. I really want to go to Lille, the city, but that's not a region, that's more like the city itself. I think it looks really, really beautiful, and a lot of things to see and do, and a lot of beer to drink. So I'm really looking forward to go to Lille as a town.
Next question. Okay, so the question was, when exploring, how do you figure out parking, streets to discover, and areas to stop at? I'll let Paul answer this one.
So basically, if it is a small town, it's fairly easy. We just go to the town, and once we get there, we just look for either street parking or there's like a public parking there. We just find a way to park, but you can do everything by foot, walking, because it's all very tiny. Like for example, Roussillon or I don't know, Lourmarin or whatever, or we go in small towns like that, it's really never an issue. We don't really look up beforehand. We just go and walk and figure out as we go, and that's also how I like to discover places, like just walk around and take photos and like see where it goes.
It's also nice to actually go to a place and not really know
have an agenda,
too much about it or what you're gonna do, because then it kind of ruins like your vision of discovering a new place.
I guess it's different when it's a big town. Let's say when we went to Nice. Nice is such a big city, you have to know where you're going. You can't just go park and walk, because you can end up in neighborhoods where there's nothing to do. So a city like Nice or Annecy or like something that's bigger.
There's too much to discover, then we will.
You do some research beforehand. You're like, okay, what do we need to see and how do we get there, and can we do everything on foot? But if it's a small town, then we just wing it.
Yeah. And then also we always look up places to eat. That's like the one thing we'll always look up before we leave. Okay, now this is the last question. Would you ever live in the US again? France is too beautiful. This question, for me, I think we both have different answers. Although you never know where life is gonna take you. I never knew I was gonna end up here, living here. And now I don't wanna leave after living here. Life is really beautiful here. the slower pace of life, the quality of life. I just truly enjoy my life here in France and I'm so grateful, but I don't know. We never know what's gonna happen in our future, so I can't really say. Right now, I see myself always living here in France.
I see myself in the US eventually. I guess it all depends on what we do for a living and how much money we're making. The US is very expensive. But I believe that if you make enough money that you could pay for a good life in the US and you could have the best medical care if you have good health care, but all of that depends on how much money you're making. So if it's too much of a struggle, we are way better here. When you work less, life is cheaper, it's more slow paced. I love that. But if one day we're making enough money online, for example, we could be living anywhere and still making an income, I would choose to live in LA if I could. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I still disagree.
Well, we'll fight
see.
about that later.
Thank you for sending in your questions. We didn't get to all of them, but I can always answer in the comments down below if you have any more questions for us. Thanks for sending them in. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And I think it's time to eat. I'm starving. Whoa.
Ooh, it's not fitting in there. Mm. Ooh.
The roasted tomatoes.
The mayo. Bye.
Bye.